Joyce asked me a very good question. She asked me what it refers to. What does this it refers to? No, that was why where I was misleading. Actually, it here closes at your feet and opens further on. It is the grass, right? And that's why her question is a very good one, because just now I explained that as the snake moves past you, it opens the grass and closes it. It seems to open the grass and close it. Okay, but the poem just described the grass divides and closes and opens. And that makes the poem a lot better than the way I described it. You see my point? Because, to just describe the grass and say that, a spotted shaft is seen amidst the grass, it makes the movement of the snake even swifter and less visible. Okay, so this is where Emily Dickinson is really great. To describe the grass, to let us know how the snake moves within the grass and dividing up the grass. Okay, so this is one thing to pay close attention to. Maybe next time I'll make a quiz out of this. Okay. Okay, let's move on. I want to play you. Does any one of you know this series, Breaking Bad? I don't. I think it's not a series we see here. But there is a reading of this poem. So let me play you the reading as I show you the poem. I don't know the series, but it seems that this person was reading the poem shows a part of himself, but then he confirms that he's a nerd. Because he knows how to read a poem, etc. But it definitely is a positive aspect of himself that other people didn't get to see. Okay, I think I really encourage some of you to all of you to read a poem out loud. Just as the plays are to be performed, poems are to be read out loud for you to really appreciate them. If you just read them silently and then check the words, you don't really appreciate the sound effects of the poem. Make sure that you read them out loud. Okay, so let me give you the questions first, and then I'll explain the meanings. I think the meanings of this poem is really easy, so I'll just quickly explain them, and then for group 5 to analyze it. Okay, so the questions first. There are 2 stanzas to this poem. The whole poem is just one sentence, very typical of Walt Whitman. The other poem we have read by Walt Whitman is A Noiseless Patient Spider, and both are 3 verses. So there are no rhymes, no end rhymes, but the lines develop their own pattern. And the length of the lines suggests also the meanings of the poem. So basically, I want you to analyze the line length in terms of the first and the second stanzas and how they are different from each other. Okay, and then in the first stanza, we have indoor lecture on the stars. And in the second stanza, we have the speaker going out of the classroom to lecture hall to appreciate the stars by himself. So basically, how are the indoor lecture and outdoor appreciation opposed to each other? So these are the questions. And how are they opposed both through the meanings and the line pattern, the sound effects, etc., etc. Okay, and finally, the other question, do you agree with the speaker or not? Do you agree with the speaker's choice of leaving the lecture hall, leaving the classroom to go outdoor to appreciate nature by itself? Okay, so these are the questions. So the first 4 lines all starts with when. So this speaker heard but not listened to. He heard the learned astronomer and how the learning astronomer presents proof figures in columns on the whiteboard or blackboard. Okay, also charts, diagram, to add, divide, and measure them. I think to add, divide, and measure either the distance of the stars or maybe the sizes of the stars, etc., etc. Okay, and then the learning astronomer lecture with much applause. You know, a lot of people applaud him, and he is very welcome. But this speaker very quickly feel tired and sick. How soon? Unaccountable. You know, for no reason. For no reason he can explain. He feels tired and sick. So he rises and glides out of the classroom, the lecture hall, to wander off by himself, to be exposed to the mystical and moist night air, and from time to time to look up in perfect silence at the stars. I think from time to time, it means he walks, wander around, and then look up in the skies from time to time. Okay, so looked up in perfect silence from time to time at the stars. So the adverbial phrase modify his movement of looking up at the stars. You know, but then of course the whole action here is kind of rhythmical. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the questions. Group 5. How about Susan first? Okay, yeah. Basically, the opposition between the first and the second stanza, the indoor lecture and outdoor appreciation of the star. How are they approached, and why does he go out?
Well, I think he goes out because he doesn't want to be restricted by what the astronomer is teaching them, like just the facts. Like he wants to see for himself what they actually look like and to feel from within, I think. But I think I don't really agree with what he's doing, because if he stayed and went through with the lecture, maybe he would learn something new, and then if he went outside after the lecture, maybe he'd be able to come up with something that's deeper, maybe.
Okay. So here first we need to look at what is presented or what are presented, like proofs, figures, charts, diagram. Yes, maybe Walt Whitman is opposed to science a little bit, but it seems that from your perspective, the knowledge of the scientific knowledge of the stars can help us appreciate the stars more. Okay, Grace.
Well, first, I disagree with Susan.
Okay.
Well, because I think stars is, well, it's really mystical, and sometimes we need to appreciate by ourselves, and sometimes those things are not just figures and diagrams that you see in the classroom or lecture hall. So I think to go outside and see it with your own eyes and feel with your own heart is very important. And the opposition of the two stanzas, I think the speaker is trying to make a contract of just sitting there and listen to the lectures, and in contrast with going outside and well, see with your own eyes.
Wait. Yeah, yes. That's true. That's the meaning. But how are the two ideas, sitting there, and going out and seeing it with your own eyes, conveyed through the lines here? You know, here we have looked up as a kind of evidence for seeing.
The first stanza, the speaker used a lot like sitting and heard, and kind of passive words. And the second stanza is like rising, gliding, looked up. It's more like more actions and stuff.
Also continuous actions.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the participles. Okay, like rising, gliding. Also, here I was shown, I heard, sitting, heard, suggests more passive behavior on the speaker's part. But the second part has more actions,
Yes.
continuous action. Okay, good. How about Vivian? Do you want to add to the debate here? So who do you agree with, Susan or Grace?
Well, actually, I agree with Susan because there's a lot of there are so many things that we don't know, and because the teachers told something to us, and then we know more about that. And when we go outside to see to see the stars, and we know about that is we can know more about that.
Okay. So you feel that the scientific data, for instance, the distance between a certain star from us, or its size, its special features, like some planets can be accessible to human beings. Some may not have atmosphere for human beings to live in. Okay, etc., etc. So you think that those data will help you appreciate stars? Okay. Okay. Anybody else who want to join and express your views?
Okay, because what I really meant was that it's like if you just go outside, like without knowing about anything, maybe you will appreciate the stars. You'll think it's really beautiful, but you won't know what you're looking at exactly. But if you had learned about the stars, and then maybe you'll know like what star sign it was. It's a completely different thing that touches you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think I understand with both perspectives. Although I lean more toward Susan and Vivian's perspective, but I totally understand why Walt Whitman will make this choice. Sometimes when you find the lecture too distant from you, or when you find the data presented in such a way that stops you from your direct appreciation, like sometimes it's not just stars, analysis of literature, analysis of music, etc. I can tell you a lot about the poetic meters, and then I scan all the poems, but you feel that you're not reading the poems yourself, and that at that point you lose contact with the messages or the outside nature yourself. So at that point, sometimes you want to give up on the knowledge and then just go ahead and appreciate whatever is out there by yourself. So I think here what Whitman does make a point about what is presented. That the presented thing, like proof, figure, charts, and diagram, does not help us appreciate its beauty. So I think there is a contrast here between scientific knowledge and appreciation of beauty. But on the other hand, I found it interesting that Walt Whitman uses stars as an example, but not trees or even mountains, flowers. Things are more accessible and closer to us. I would be able to appreciate a flower or a tree more directly than I would be able to appreciate stars, because stars are so remote. When you look at the stars, you usually cast your own personal imagination over them. You usually present, like even with constellations, and then the signs. Those are all human constructions of the stars and the shapes and the features. 什么射手座、狮子座 etc. etc. Those are all human constructions. So sometimes I wonder whether the speaker here does appreciate the stars or appreciate his being alone out in nature under the stars. So it's more maybe an appreciation of his loneliness, his independence from the crowd and from the dead scientific knowledge than a real understanding of the stars themselves. So I think there is a difference here. Yeah. About education, I think what really matters is whether education of any form touches you or not. Remember in Pygmalion, in Brother Cass's lecture on Pygmalion, and also in when he analyzes Eliza's comment, saying that Pickering's calling her Miss Doolittle is where she's really treated as a lady and where her real education is. So I think that this is really a big question. What real education means for you. If Whitman rejects this kind of education, it doesn't mean that this kind of education doesn't work for you. But then, I think you need to determine whether, the education you are receiving here, matters for you, or whether it touches you, whether it makes sense to you and to your life. I think this is one question that we can ask after reading this poem, instead of just completely agreeing with what the speaker says or what he chooses to do. Yeah. Okay. And the analysis of the poem, I think, is easy. If you know how to analyze a noisy patient spider, I believe you know how to analyze this poem. So I want to move faster and to the next poem, because we'll need to spend more time on the next poem, the Musée des Beaux-Arts. Here, basically, for instance, the repetition of when is similar to the repetition in the first stanza of Onosi's patient spider, suggesting something mechanical. Okay, although there's a pattern there, but it's something more mechanical than what's described in the second stanza of this poem, as well as Onosi's patient spider. And then here, the proof figures, there were explosive sounds, aspirated and non-aspirated, 就有气声和没有气声的 explosive sounds, 爆破音, proof figure, charts, diagram, to add, divide, the repetition of the D sound, D, 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 okay, and then pauses, the many pauses, makes the reading very staccato, unsmooth. Unlike the next one, gliding, a lot of assonance, I, rising, gliding, out, assonance, and also open vowels. Wandering off, by, myself, assonance, and mystical alliteration, and also nasal sounds, mystical, moist, night air, from time to time. 有人会说这样子都是 alliteration。你记得我上次跟你们讲，就 alliteration 它的定义有不同种，有一种是光是第一个子音就是 alliteration， 那有人会坚持是第一个子音加母音才是 alliteration， 那有人会把中间就从前面有重复，中间再重复，这个也叫做 alliteration。好，就基本上那个我们中文翻成押头韵比较narrow， 就它的那 definition 比较 narrow， 英文的那个 alliteration 定义是比较多元的。好 ，Okay, yes, don't forget that whole poem is one sentence. I think just check for yourself. A noisy patient spider should be just either one sentence or two sentences, and that's very typical of Walt Whitman in these two poems.